what's new on the Burlington waterfront. Hey, now it's happening at the waterfront on Lake Champlain. Whatever the weather, there's so much to do on the new waterfront, the Burlington waterfront.
Hi, welcome to On the Waterfront. I'm your host, Mariah Riggs, and this month I'm really excited to have Christopher Kaufman Ilstrup, the Executive Director of Vermont Humanities, here with me this month.
Hello.
Hi, Christopher.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So, Vermont Humanities, I think the best way to start is for you to tell us a little bit and tell our audience, what is the Vermont Humanities and what do you do?
Sure. You know, it's interesting. We've been around now for 51 years. And we do a lot all over the state. We do about 1,000 events a year, as we were just talking about, but they're mostly in other venues, right? We do work with libraries and historical societies and in schools. So often when people hear Vermont Humanities, they don't really know what that is, but they know that they go to events at their public library or that their kid reads the Vermont Reads book in their school. Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily know that we run it. So to mm-hmm. sort of basically introduce it, I will say that Vermont Humanities is 51 years old. Mm-hmm. We are the state affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities in Washington, D.C., and we're also the state affiliate of the Library of Congress Center for the Book.
Huh, I didn't realize that.
So we have two federal affiliations. And we are the local group that is responsible for running public humanities programs all over the state. We're the sister organization to the Vermont Arts Council, which people are generally more familiar with.
Yeah, they tend to have a different type of presence.
Right.
It sounds like you guys are more, I wouldn't say puppet masters, but more sort of the shadow organization behind a lot of like the functioning of a lot of our local and community organizations. You know, also to help fill in, I mean, I know it's funny, this has come up a few times with people, you know, how would you define the humanities? Because I think that's an important understanding of the scope of the work that you do.
Sure.
So how would Vermont Humanities define what humanities are?
Sure. You know, back in the 1960s when they started the National Endowment for the Humanities and the National Endowment for the Arts, mm-hmm. they split them up. And I actually think that's a little bit unfortunate. I think they actually should be together. But traditionally back in the day, right, you would, when people said, what are the humanities, you would say it's a series of academic disciplines, right? Mm-hmm. It is philosophy, it is history, it is religion, it is literature, those kinds of things. Today, we think about it somewhat differently. Mm-hmm. When we talk about the humanities at Vermont Humanities, it's really, for us, anytime two or more people come together in a community to make that community a better place. And they often use history, philosophy, religion, literature to do that work. But it's really just about engaging as humans with each other to try and make sense of what's happening in your community and how to make it better for everybody.
Yeah, so the intellectual pursuits of human existence and community engagement.
It is that, but I don't want people to come away thinking that it is purely a head exercise.
Yeah.
Right? It's about heart.
Yeah.
And it's about your body. It's about being engaged physically in your community.
Yeah, you could almost even say the humanities are the connection between the head and heart.
Yeah.
And how they relate to each other.
Yeah, you know, one of our longtime partners is as an organization called Get Thee to the Funnery, which is a summer Shakespeare camp. It's existed in a number of different Vermont communities, but it started in Greensboro up in the Northeast Kingdom. Mm-hmm. We support that camp and we support the one in Chelsea. They're for high school students. Wow. And they really, really talk about heart, mind, body, and voice.
Oh, wow.
And I think that really says a lot about what we do and the kinds of things that we support. We want people to really be thinking about heart, mind, body, and voice and how they come together to make communities stronger.
Yeah, you facilitate that sort of integration.
Right.
And then allow it to grow and flourish in different communities. And I think that's why it's great we're having this conversation too, because I do get a sense that the Vermont Humanities, it creates so much vibrancy. And yet at the same time, it's always kind of in the back seat, helping facilitate, let people take care of it, organize it in the foreground, but you're in the background allowing it to occur. So I think it's really great we get to have this conversation about what you guys do, so
Very
people
frequently,
fully
that's,
can appreciate
that's
it.
absolutely true. You know, that we are in the background. We're really the servants helping to make it happen, I would say. But we want to empower local communities to do what they need to do through the humanities for their particular situation.
And it's nice to acknowledge the humble servant.
Right.
Right? And all that they do, and understand that, especially as our community, and especially too with the role of humanities right now in the current climate. It's really important to understand why it's so important and what it's doing for Vermonters across the state of Vermont, especially Vermont Humanities, which maybe people aren't as aware of as maybe they should be. So I wanted to, you talked about that you're a state affiliate for the National Endowment for the Humanities, and I'll get into the Library of Congress in a second. But I wanted to talk, what is your relationship with the National Endowment for the Humanities, and what does that represent as far as a relationship?
Sure, yeah. So the National Endowment was started in 1965
Okay.
Under Lyndon Baines Johnson. I think one of the great things about the original language that started us is that there was this phrase that came out then saying, "Democracy demands wisdom." And that's really a kind of a key statement for what the NEH is. Democracy demands wisdom. And it has successfully done that work, I think, since 1965 up until now, right? They're just hitting their, 61st. Unfortunately, we're in a little bit of a problematic moment in history
Where democracy lacks wisdom.
and so it's really been a tough year, I think, for the NEH and also for the state humanities councils around the country. Right, we're just one. There's actually 56 state humanities councils around the country. So
that's an odd number considering there are 50
why is there 50 states?
I was just going to ask you.
There's 50 states. There's the District of Columbia, and there are 5 jurisdictions or territories. Right, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, American Samoa, the Mariana Islands, and Guam.
Thank you for my geography lesson.
You're
welcome. Thank you. I hope everybody got that.
Yeah.
And so they all have their own humanities department.
So they have their own humanities council, and we all do different things because we are all serving our community in the way that is best for our community.
Yep.
Most of us do some form of grant making.
Yep.
And many of us also do direct programming, like we do. But it's all a little bit different.
Yeah.
The challenge right now, of course, being that because we're in a difficult situation, last April, shortly after the new administration came into power, they sent Doge over to the National Endowment for the Humanities.
I did hear, I think we all heard about that.
Yep. And they terminated all of the grants, including all of the grants for the state jurisdictional councils.
And I was going to ask you how that had affected you.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Right? So our annual support from the NEH works out to be roughly $900,000 a year, about 40% of our budget. And now we are without that money. We are in the middle of a lawsuit, which we expect that we will hopefully eventually win.
Yeah.
But until we do, that money has not come back.
That's devastating. I mean, I can't imagine as far as like a foundation or nonprofit is concerned, as an endowment, you're supposed to receive the funds in order to function adequately.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that funding was congressionally appropriated.
Of course.
They have the money. They're supposed to give it to the councils and all the other grantees, right? They canceled not just the 56 council grants, but also about 1,400 other grants. To individual humanities scholars, to institutions of higher education, to the Fletcher Free Library here in Burlington.
Yeah, I did hear about that. And it's interesting too, because you said democracy, wisdom in democracy, and having a wise group of citizen voters is a foundational principle of democracy.
Yeah.
And part of that is like lifting up our culture through things like history and philosophy and reading and literature and sort of the classical liberal arts, right? And you can definitely feel this assault on the traditional liberal arts, and I would even say against wisdom in general.
Right.
There's definitely a feeling of that right now, I think, for a lot of people.
And of course, it's not just the NEH,
No.
right? It's the National Park Service. It's the Institute for Museum and Library Services.
Yeah.
It's the Smithsonian. Everybody is under pressure right
Kennedy
now.
Center.
The Kennedy Center.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And we are winning slowly but surely in the courts, but that takes a long time.
So, I think this is a good point, too, to our viewership right now. I know that there are people watching this right now. How can they help Vermont Humanities during this time? I mean, what can they do to try to help you to feel like they're supporting our important and integral humanities institution within our state when they're in a state of crisis?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things that I always say in answer to this question, and I've been answering it for a year, right? The first and most important thing is participate.
Okay.
Right? Engage in your democracy.
All right.
That is something you have to do. You have to tell people why you care about arts, culture, and humanities. The second most important thing is to participate. Right? You have to go to these events. You have to participate in Vermont Reads. You have to go to a local community library and participate in some of their events and show that they're needed and show that they are valuable to you in your community. And, and the third thing, of course, is participate. Please, if you can, support the organization.
So there
Not
is
just
a
my
way,
organization, but all of the local
so is there a way to
organizations.
donate to Vermont Humanities?
Absolutely. If you go to our website, www.vermontHumanities.org, you spell out Vermont and humanities. There's a support us button right on the top right, and you can click in there. And it was really, really heartening to us to look at the end of the year and see how many new people had come forward to support Vermont Humanities in this time. And that we were able to fill a chunk of the gap. Right, not $900,000.
Thank you, guys. That's wonderful.
But we wouldn't expect that, right? The point of being funded through the government is that we all contribute. So I don't want to put that
And the government
burden.
then takes that money and it redistributes it to help support things that are, again, lifting up its citizenry. Which is sort of part of how the cycle is supposed to work.
Yeah, but it is amazing, right? Like over 100 new people came.
That's incredible. I mean, for
in to
Vermont,
support us.
that's a real number.
Yep.
That is fabulous. So, but I want to put it out here too to our viewership that, also go on the website. If you want to support the humanities in Vermont, because it does matter and it matters, you can go on the website. You can also find out all the different, like you were saying, 1,000 different events a year. Go on their calendar. Look at all the different things that are happening within your community. Go support them, show up, engage with the content, because that just makes it more vibrant and will help. And if you want to also go the extra mile, go to the website, make sure you click on it and support if you can, with any means you can, to make sure that the humanities stay. You guys are one of the focal points of community activity in Vermont. We're such a series of very small townships, and a lot of Vermont towns, I think it's one of the unique and wonderful things about Vermont, a lot of towns focus around their library. There's an elementary school and there's a library. And those tend to be those meeting places for very small towns throughout Vermont, and we're very rural. So the work you guys do in libraries is so important, not only for children, but for retired people, and then just general people in their communities, to have that access point so that they can engage and have a functioning, small town community that they can rally around. And so if those are things that are important to you, one of the ways that you can ensure that continues is by going on the website and supporting Vermont Humanities. It's so important.
And you'll almost certainly, if you start clicking through that calendar of events, you'll almost certainly find something within half an hour.
That's what boggles me.
If not within 10 minutes.
I work with a lot of statewide organizations, and one of the things that always amazes me about the Vermont Humanities is how their scope affects every corner of the state, which is not easy to do.
Right.
It isn't. I mean, Brattleboro's 3 hours away. I mean, I tell people from out of state they can never believe how far away things are in Vermont. But the fact that you guys really touch in every small community in the state of Vermont and lift up these small towns into a more actively engaged community is invaluable.
Yeah, and let me just tell you a story from yesterday, right? So yesterday was the deadline for our spring grants round. Okay. We give project grants up to $5,000. And over the last several years, as people have learned more about us, they've become more and more and more popular. And yesterday, deadline for our spring grants, we had 83 proposals from 13 of the 14 counties, which is almost unheard of, right?
That is impressive.
And I kind of want to go hand a check to the Moose in Essex County. Just to say we got all 14. We won't do that, but we will go and we will visit Island Pond and Canaan and Guilford, and we'll tell them for the next time, please make sure that you're applying. But every other county had at least 1 or 2 grant applications in that pool. Now,
which is incredible.
One of the things that's really, it's very important to say is that those 83 applications were asking us for about $380,000. Wow. In project grant money. And we have a budget of $75,000 this year because of all of the stuff that's happening. And we're so grateful for private donors that support these grants.
But that's a huge deficit.
We'll only be able to fund, of those 83, we'll probably be able to fund 16 or 17 of them. And so that's some hard choices.
Yeah, but your support, that's where...
That's very tangible.
That's where that grassroots support that Vermonters are famous for can really lift up Vermont Humanities and allow it to do the work that it needs to do to keep engaging with our local communities.
And I would say, everything helps from sending in $10 to people who send in 5,000 and they're like, I want to fund that proposal for the Moose, right?
Well, you can also do a monthly thing.
I mean, right? A monthly thing.
If you just want to do 10 months, $10 a month to Vermont Humanities, that's totally plausible.
That's totally plausible.
And you want to, it's a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff will just allow you guys to really get out there into some our more rural communities that need your help.
Yeah, and they really do. It's amazing to me when you support something like Get Thee to the Funnery, or right here in the Old North End, we supported the mural at the Richard Kemp Center last year. Right, a small amount of money makes a really big difference to a small community project. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a lot. No, just a few $100s can do a lot for people.
Well, it also gives. There's also an element of hope there. When somebody is out there and they're looking out for you and they care about passion projects that are going to activate a community, that helps further that. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you will. Yeah. That it helps create that energy that allows things to propel forward. Yeah. And so, something that's always struck me about Vermont Humanities is its outreach and its capacity to really support Vermonters where they need it most. Yeah. So thank you so much for that.
You're
now,
welcome.
I want to get into your grant program.
Sure.
So some of us now, the spring grant program obviously is done for the season. But if any of our viewers, can you just explain the grant process, the grant program, and if somebody was interested in pursuing a grant, how they do that?
There's a bunch of different ways that people can do that. So there's the project grants are 3 times a year, right? So we just passed the deadline. Right. The next one will be in May, and then there'll be another one in the fall. Okay. But you can apply for a smaller grant called a rapid response grant anytime you want. And those are grants up to $1,000. So those are really great for small community projects that are coming right up. Like if you've got a cultural festival coming up in your town, or you want to do an oral history project with the elders and the young people in your community, and that's coming up in the next couple of months, like that's a great application to us to apply for just a small amount of money. So there's that. Yeah. We are hoping to bring back our 3-year partnership grants this fall.
So what is that?
Those are commitments to organizations over a longer haul, up to $10,000. Wow. We just completed our inaugural cohort last year, just as all of this was going down. But we made our commitments. We raised enough money to pay out the final year. We'd like to restart that in the fall if we can. The idea behind it is that there's 8 or 10 organizations that are really core to our mission that we want to say, you don't have to apply every year.
Yep.
We will give you this amount of money every year for the next 3 years, and don't worry about it. Just send us a letter at each year mark to tell us that you're still trucking and you're still doing good work, and then we'll send you the next year's worth of
It's
grant.
like seed investment money
So-
towards franchises or satellite projects that can go do the work that Vermont
Right.
Humanities
Yeah, and there,
is
were
doing.
wonderful projects that were in our first cohort. Of course, the amazing Clemens Family Farm in Charlotte was one
Yeah.
of our partnership grantees. The Vermont Council on World Affairs down in Brattleboro was another one. Right here in Burlington, the Burlington History Center project.
Yes.
That was a partnership grantee
Yeah,
for
I've
us.
done some work with them.
And you can see them all if you go on
Yeah,
the
but it's
website.
great because that allows you to create more organizations.
Yep.
So there's a cumulative effect. The more people that engage, it's like anything, right? The more people that come to the party, the more effect you can have.
Yeah.
And that allows you to spread far and wide,
Yeah.
Your mission, which is
I
wonderful.
think I should also mention two other things that might not immediately sound like they're grants, but they are.
Okay.
That are coming up.
Yep.
Because they're important. So we do a fall festival every fall in October. It's National Arts and Humanities Month.
Okay.
And we come up with a theme every year. This year's theme is Weaving Our History. It's related to America 250, right? Despite everything, we do have a 250-year record of democracy in this country. And so we are giving 5 $2,500 grants to organizations that want to hold a festival event on that theme that's meaningful to them.
That's great.
And it can be any number of things can be done.
When is the deadline for that?
The deadline is June 2nd, so there's a little bit
you have some
yet.
time.
There's some time, and it's about
So
to
did you
go
hear that,
live in the
people?
next
Let's
couple of weeks.
get on that.
We did things like here in the Old North End, we supported the Off Center a couple years ago, and they did a 15-minute play festival on the theme of climate change.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was great. It was a little dystopian. I think I was hoping for a little more optimism, but hey,
Well,
the world is rough right now.
it's a little dystopic.
It's a little dystopic. But that's coming up. And also Vermont Reads 2026 is coming up soon too. And that will also have small grants associated with it that you can apply for any time in the year.
So I did want to talk to you about the Vermont Reads program. Can you let our viewers know what the Vermont Reads program is and, kind of give an overview because a lot of people might not be familiar with it.
Yeah. Vermont Reads is really probably the thing that we are most known for right now. And it's been running we're about to announce our 24th book.
Okay.
So since 2002, I guess, is when it started. We pick one book a year, and we encourage communities all over the state to get the book and to do projects about the book's themes. So it's not a book club. I want to be really clear about that. You're not just sitting in a circle reading the book and going home.
Yep.
The idea behind it is that you are going to engage with the book in your community.
Wow.
And there have been some really amazing things that have come out of it over the years. And
How do you choose the book?
how do we choose the book? Oh my God, it's so hard. It's like
I can imagine.
It is absolutely the most difficult decision that we have to make every year because it's just one book.
Right?
You're right. So I'll talk about the book that we're currently working
Yes,
on.
what is
So
it?
The Light Pirate by Lily Brooks Dalton is the current
Okay.
book.
I'm not familiar. So
We picked this book because we had just been through 2 years of catastrophic flooding. This is a book about climate change and climate resilience and adaptation specifically.
interesting.
It also happens to be written by a Vermonter, Lily Brooks Dalton, who grew up in Halifax, Vermont, down south.
Yep.
She currently lives in LA, but
Well, that happens.
we'll still claim her.
That happens. She was born here.
She was born here.
So
she was born
native
here. She
Vermonter.
grew up here. She went to the Putney School. She went to CCV.
So now, and again, what is the name of the book again?
It's called The Light Pirate.
So The Light Pirate. So if you want to read the book this year, it's The Light Pirate. Check it out.
Check it out. Unfortunately, you're going to have to get it from your bookstore or library because we're out.
It's okay. Just go to Phoenix Books. You'll figure it out.
Figure it out. it's great there.
And so it's about climate resilience.
Yeah, and so what we do is we start with a big long list of books. And at the staff level, we read a ton of books. We're doing this right now actually for 2027.
Wow.
We narrow it down to our top 3 or 4 favorites, so we can call it the short list.
Okay.
And then that short list of books goes out to a group of librarians and writers and teachers around the state, and we ask them to read them and give us their opinion. And then we narrow it down to 2.
Wow.
And then we give it to students. And we
Interesting.
ask students to read the final 2 and give us their opinions. And then we make a final decision when we've gotten all of that feedback in. So it's broad feedback to choose the book. But we knew in this case that Vermonters were really struggling with how to think about climate resilience in the face of 2 years of really devastating floods.
And if you can get into the hyper local level, right? With an idea of climate resilience, that starts furthering discussions in small towns, town meetings, and in small committees across the state about how they can bring that into their one community and maybe push that forward into the future to become more resilient.
And great things happen when you push this out there. I'll tell you just a little bit about Brownell Library in Essex. Took the book, they had everybody read the book, and then they ran something that they called the Repair Cafe, where they asked everybody who had read the book, was participating in Vermont Reads, to bring in their broken stuff.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And to figure out, and then they would get people in who knew how to fix your toaster or fix your lawnmower.
Which is, by the way, one of the great Yankee wonderful things as a native Vermonter I can attest to. We know how to break broken things up here.
Yeah.
We're good like that.
How do you put a new plug on something?
Yeah.
Right? Like that kind of stuff. And to really help people think about their consumerism in a different way. Don't just buy a new one.
Or don't just trash it.
Right. Don't just trash it.
Repurpose it. Or, keep it
Do
going.
Something else. Keep it going.
Yeah.
So that, that was a wonderful project.
That's
we
so
also,
cool.
are encouraging people to take advantage of some of our Speakers Bureau talks. So we have a great talk now about why Vermont towns are all on rivers.
Speaker Bureaus talk.
Yeah.
All right, explain that.
So we have, if you go on our website,
Yes.
a lot of what you'll see in the events are Speakers Bureau talks and Vermont Reads.
And so what is a
And
Speaker Bureau's talk?
You can go on there, you can find a scholar and a topic that you're interested in, and you can call that scholar up and schedule them to come to your community.
Really?
To your senior center, to your library, to your historical society, to your school, wherever.
Oh my
You
gosh, that's
pay us
wonderful.
a $75 fee
Yeah.
for managing and then we pay the speaker to go to your town.
Really?
So, and if it's a Vermont Reads related talk, you don't even have to pay the $75. You just schedule it and we take care of everything.
So I don't think any of our viewers realize that, because for small communities across the state, having community education resources like that that can come into towns that don't have a lot of programming or don't have the resources to bring in an academic to talk about something that the community is interested in, you facilitate that.
Yeah, and if your little library only has, a $14,000 budget and it's only open 6 hours a week, you can get that for your community, and we hope that it's also going to build support for the library.
Of course, because then your library becomes more activated.
Yep.
And as we discussed earlier, libraries and schools really are the hearts and souls of a lot of small communities across rural Vermont. That's where people come together. That's where you have senior centers or like reading groups. That's where those active community engagement places happen.
Yeah.
And that's such I didn't know about that. So,
and not to be mean about it, but I'd much rather our taxpayer dollars pay for stuff like that than Kristi Noem's private jet.
I wasn't going to get into that, but I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Just saying.
No, but I mean, but that's how you engage with democracy, right? And it is true. Democracy is only as good as the wisdom of its citizens.
Right.
And it gets back into that concept that, like, if we're all actively engaging and becoming wiser and more engaged and more educated, then it lifts up everyone.
Yeah. Otter Valley High School just did a bunch of Vermont Reads stuff with the Light Pirate. And it was amazing. Rutland Herald wrote this very long article about everything that they did. But one of the things that I thought was so cool was that it wasn't the English department that did it. Like, they spread that across multiple departments. So English, art, music, history, they all worked on it together, and the kids learned about climate change, climate resilience across their curriculum. And then they took it outside the school walls, right? They said, okay, this is not just for the students, we're also going to present this work to the grown-ups in the town.
To the grown-ups. And so it becomes a whole systemic process that reaches across and engages an entire community.
Yeah.
So,
I think you can find that article if you look on our social media.
So, like before we end here, I really ask everyone who's watching this, if you get a chance, make sure you go to vermonthumanities.org, check out all the incredible and engaged work and potential for your own community that you can access on the website. Is there anything else you'd like to add to anyone before we
No, I just think it's so important that people get involved in whatever way they can. And to go back to the very beginning, right, the humanities for us is 2 or more people in a room talking together about how to make their community a better place. That is really what this is supposed to be. And it only works if you participate. So please participate.
And I know all of you care about democracy. And democracy starts when people start talking to each other and getting out in their communities. So thanks again. It's been a real pleasure to have you, Christopher.
You're welcome.
And thanks again for all the work you do. Please go on. Please support our humanities. It is one of the foundations of our democracy and one of the most amazing organizations in the state of Vermont. I can't tell you how happy I am to have you on here today. And thank you guys so much for being here this month. And I'll see you right back here in March. Take care.